up? Welcome to the hottest sports topics in the internet and in your life. It's time for Ready Break. This is the first time we've ever done this show. My intro sucks. It'll get a lot better, I promise. I am Brandon Brewer, and in the huddle with me tonight, I've got Zach Billings, Ryan Gaskins, and Harvey Reed. Fellas, what's up?
Yo,
What's going
What's
on?
up? Welcome to the new show. I guess it's new.
it is.
Yes, this is the first episode of Ready Break.
Although I
It's
feel like
it's
I've been here forever.
it's it's brand new, like Zach and I have been doing the Nest podcast for going on 4 years, and Ryan was one of the hosts of the Sportszilla podcast, and we decided to kind of join forces and come up with a new show for the new year, and try to merge everything together. We've got the new group, the Ready Break Huddle, that's live on Facebook. We've got a lot of people that have been interacting on there already. Appreciate all of you that have been commenting, posting your memes and all that stuff. And Ryan, you actually posted a poll earlier today that's been getting some traction as well.
Yeah, I did posted up a poll. Basically, every week we'll post something up, talk about it. But this poll this week was talking about how bowl games, basically, we've got so many of them at the end of the year, college football season, and whether they've become meaningless or they're actually, still have some meaning behind them. We've gotten a lot of answers on the page talking about how people feel about bowls, and I don't disagree with anybody saying anything about them. Personally, I believe they're a bit meaningless at this point, and that's just based off the fact that prior to let's say social media and the news being across platforms you can easily access, bowl games were the way you saw other teams that you didn't get to watch during the season, and now you can see all of that. So it's basically an end of the year game for guys that may not play football again, and that's exciting. But at the same time, it just seems like it's too much, and maybe a playoff changes it. More teams in a playoff makes it more interesting. Less people opt out. I don't know the answer to that, but we definitely got a lot of responses based off of what we posted.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and show that here. We've got the poll where people are able to add their own thoughts and opinions in on this, and I noticed one of the things that somebody said was there's enough bowl games now to have one every single week of the year. That's a bit egregious. They need to
Yeah.
expand the playoff format, and I agree that would make things a lot more meaningful if they were able to expand the playoff format and give more teams a chance to win the national title.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the excitement would be just seeing, what, 8, 12, 16 teams. I don't know what the number would be. We'd probably want more once they gave us a number, just like they gave us 4, and now we want more. But it'd make watching the bowl games a lot more interesting, especially when a team can come out of nowhere. You get a Cinderella football team like you do in March Madness or something like that. And realistically, it's not the same teams every year. Although this year we did have some changes, and it's been enjoyable to watch. We still end up with almost the same product we had, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I forget what it was.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, with Georgia and Alabama being the two main teams.
Clemson's rotated out,
Yep.
and I think they'll be out of it for a little while. And unfortunately for Clemson fans, I don't see that program coming back anytime soon. Regarding the ball games, I think that it gives a lot of guys a chance to say goodbye to the game because, like Ryan was saying, they're not necessarily all going to the next level, and a lot of these guys know that. But at the same time, I think that most of these decisions that are going to happen in the future are going to be driven by the dollar bill, and like the Outback Bowl and all these different companies that have bought the rights to the names of ball games. They're not going to want to just be like, okay, well, y'all can have this playoff game. We're not going to have our ball game anymore. So I think it'll be something that'll be contentious. I think it'll take a few years to iron out, but I think that an expansion to the playoff format that we have now is inevitable.
Well, that's all money right there. What you're talking about, the people buying up these contracts. So just make it to where it's a little bit more of a purchase price, and that becomes a bowl game for the national title. You get more recognition, more exposure. It has more prestige. But like to your point, as is, nobody cares about the Applebee's half off appetizer bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, there were a bunch of bowl games in there. I watched them. It's that time of the year. I wanted to watch football, but realistically, they didn't mean much other than maybe a betting line or something, you can make some cash off of.
What I do know is that Tennessee got screwed. But guys, one of the main things about this show that we wanted to start is that we would take all of the hot topics in sports, all the trendy news that's going around for the entire week, and for the better part of what's going on in all of our lives, because that's what we follow with sports, and kind of consolidate the hot topics of that week and talk about them on this show. And with that being said, this week it was kind of a somber one for a lot of sports fans, because we had the unfortunate realization that one of the all-time greats had passed away. And I think the NFL has done a wonderful job at giving tribute and stuff like that to John Madden and to his legacy, and kind of tipping the cap to this guy that, for lack of better words, influenced the game more than anybody else. Because of John Madden, there's generations of kids that understand and know football because they played the video games that he was very instrumental in bringing to us. Guys, what do you think about John Madden, and what was the first edition of Madden that you guys ever touched?
Oh man, I couldn't probably tell you the year. I remember playing Madden every year when it came out, so I probably can't tell you what year, but I can tell you I can hear the voice, calling the game while you're playing the whole time. More so to me, just hearing him in the booth talking about football. Really, you put a light out. There's a lot of people that know about football because of the way he talked about it, video games in the broadcasting booth, but he also explained it to people very easily who don't understand football. So it was easy for someone to catch on to that and continue learning based off of how he talked about football.
Well, he definitely knew how to talk the game. A lot of his phrases like "Did anybody get the license on that truck?" That kind of stuff, like that was like going viral before there was a viral. So like John Madden was able to kind of put poetry into a blood sport in a way, like with his words. But then there was also something that was just genuine about him. Like I think he elevated the bar for being in the booth to where now it's like every game it's Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, and we're just supposed to, I guess, take that year in and year out, and like as the substitution for what used to be like John Madden and Al Michaels, just spectacular broadcasts. I remember when I was little, when Jerry Rice and Barry Sanders, people like that, were in their prime. That was when John Madden would be in the booth talking about turkey legs and turducken and this and that. Like, it just made the game fun to watch, So his genuine, like, I guess it was his genuine personality that he brought to the table was what made him such a legend, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think his take on the game was an interesting one, especially for the time, because like you said, he was such a big personality, and he obviously brought that to the booth. And I remember very specifically that Madden 2000 on PlayStation was my first experience with that. And I think just that kind of sparked my interest in football to begin with. And in my opinion, he is the GOAT of commentators. He broke down the game in a way that made a lot of sense to someone like me who didn't really have much experience in the game, and he made it fun. He made it entertaining. And I think he obviously he had a lot of on-field accolades with the Raiders and Super Bowls and stuff. But I think for a lot of people, the main reason why he's such a big impact is because of his time in the booth and with his Madden video game. And I think he for the better changed the entire game of football and just made it more of a spectator sport than it might have been before him, because the way he could break stuff down and made it so entertaining was so captivating for people to watch, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And he started out with the Madden concept back in 1988 when, we were all just wee little lads. Some of us might not have even been born at that time. and and he wanted to make a real football game. Up until that point, we had like, I guess, little Mickey Mouse versions of football games where they weren't realistic. You
Tecmo.
really couldn't.
Yep.
Tecmo, yeah. You couldn't really call plays. You had hand the ball to Bo Jackson, and that was the only play that mattered in the game. And I mean, yeah, you won by doing that, but it wasn't a real 11v11 football game. You didn't have special teams. You didn't get to play defense with all the schemes and all that stuff that he wanted to introduce into that market. So because of that, it definitely changed the game and changed the popularity of the sport, in my opinion.
Yeah.
My first experience with Madden was back in 1996 when I played Madden 64. I know my cousin at the time had a Nintendo 64, and I would go over to his house and we would hop on the sticks. And that was my first time really getting to play a football game. I had one of those little generic football games on Super Nintendo back in the day, but it wasn't like you had 4 plays that you could play to pick from. You had a halfback dive, you had a post, I think you had a wheel route and a quarterback sneak, and that was about the only plays that you could run. But Madden was like, oh wow, I have so much at my disposal. I can actually like run some play action here. It was unreal. And then just seeing the graphics throughout the years just get better and better and better. It's been phenomenal to watch the evolution of the game. And for one, I just really have enjoyed that it's gotten so realistic over time. You'll see here in our video, this was Madden 64, the first game that I ever played on as far as Madden is concerned. And yeah, it looked okay, but compared to games today, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Hey,
I love.
do
I
you,
love.
do
Go
you
ahead.
happen
Artie.
to have the covers like as far as you can tell which year they were? If I tell you Brett Favre was on the cover of the first one I played.
I think Brett Favre was like 09. I want to say
Ooh, this would have been a pack. It would like it was way early. Like I think
they
it was
didn't.
more like 90s.
They didn't start putting players on the covers till 2001.
Oh, okay. All
Eddie,
right. Well,
Eddie
then,
George.
yeah, it was somewhere in the mid 90s for me too. But I'll go ahead and say there was a span between 2000 to probably about 2012. The Drew Brees cover was the last game that I bought, and I stopped buying the game just because it was kind of the same platform. They were updating a little bit every year, but it was basically just buying new rosters. And I don't know, I just kind of fell out of the video game mentality as I got older. But Madden definitely does give you the real experience more than any other football game by far.
Yep, I
Now,
have to agree with that. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of defenses, cover 2, single high safety, stuff like that I learned just by playing a video game, which sounds a little ridiculous, but figuring out how to run a defense, I guess, is what you'd say, and offensive plays to call against defenses you see out on the field. That without that game, there was a lot of that a lot of people wouldn't understand just because it was so easy
Absolutely.
to figure it out on the game.
Yep.
what's the meme that's been floating around since Madden passed away is that the video game franchise is why 13-year-olds are better at clock management than Mike McCarthy.
That's true.
That's great.
We can get into some of that later on. I can guarantee you that.
I'm looking at the Madden covers now, and yeah, Zach was right. 2001 was the first year that a player was on it, and not the face of John Madden himself. Does anybody remember who that player was?
Barry Sanders.
Eddie George.
Eddie
Ray Lewis.
George.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, Eddie George.
I have a
Okay.
mind full of useless information.
Don't worry, I'm there with.
Hey, Eddie was a bad dude.
Oh, beast.
He was a bad dude. I know Harvey had a run playing Madden for a while that he actually won some cash in some tournaments and stuff. So
It
Harvey,
was
if you want to,
the 2011 Tennessee Titans Vince Young cover, and I think did you come with me to that one tournament?
no, I wasn't with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got beat by a guy by a field. He hit a 56-yard field goal with 1 second to go, and it was like I got second place, just like I happened to get second place this week to my friend Zach. But yeah, I mean, if you're in a championship game, I mean, you can look at it like the Buffalo Bills. Whether you get there every year and you don't win, you're supposed to be happy that you're making it there, right? And And even in a virtual world, at the age of 23, I had no chance of getting on steroids and playing my way on the ETSU's, walking onto their soon to be destined to be doomed football team that came back. But no, I don't think I was going to play for real. So that was my only chance to vicariously experience what these guys on the field were doing that I love to watch so much.
Yeah, same for me. I never played football as a kid, and that's a whole different story. But nonetheless, Madden, and then eventually NCAA was my only outlet into that sport where I could somehow feel what it's like to play that. And I think Madden just changed the entire sports video game world
Absolutely.
completely, because like we said earlier, before that it was just gimmicky games that were very basic. And maybe I can throw it up on the group after the show, but there was some sort of Madden like game developer guy who recently did like an interview type video for Madden's passing, and he was saying that apparently John Madden was the one that tried to push for the game to just get better and better and better. And I guess at a certain point he bowed out of his involvement in the game, and that's probably where we saw the decline of the whole franchise. But I guess he was really, really adamant about the game being as good as it could possibly be to attract more fans to the sport.
See, I didn't know anything about that. I wouldn't have thought that John Madden himself would have been worried about the
Right,
quality of the. So that just even more how genuine that person was.
right.
It's a loss that you know kids that aren't even born today, like they'll know about this man and they'll know what this man did for the sport and for gaming in general.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's definitely a hot topic for a reason. And I wouldn't be surprised if people come out with a like JM on their sleeve or on their helmet for the rest of the year or something like that. You see that in other sports. So I think Madden's deserving of something like that.
Now, let me ask the the downfall of the Madden franchise and stuff like that. Other than updating rosters and maybe giving a slight graphics update, what else can you do to make Madden better? Like
Yeah, that's a good point.
it's already the pinnacle of football. Like you can't change the game, you can't change the sport. I think that in and of itself is part of the reason. Now I know like other games like 2K and stuff like that have tried to make like an RPG out of the game, if you will, to where you have to run around town and do these kind of missions and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's kind of gimmicky and cartoony.
Yeah, it is.
I
I
think
agree.
I think that's the thing that's holding Madden back is just where do we go from here? I could see them maybe trying to work on like a VR game. That would be pretty cool, maybe if they can do it right. But yeah, I think that's they peaked back in what, I don't know, 08, 09, 2010 or so. The gameplay hasn't really gotten much better since then. It's always a graphics update and a roster update.
Mhm.
Um, I think it might have been 2 or 3 years ago, where they had almost like a campaign style story mode where you played as a specific character and you tried to get drafted and all that stuff, and then you tried to make your your team, and then you just level up all the time. And if you screw up, the game's not just going to give you a pass; you have to actually perform. But that didn't really last. So yeah, I mean, what they're going to do from now on is probably something pretty crazy, like a VR game, is in my opinion. Or they might do the 2K thing where they make it just a big open world type thing. But yeah, I feel like they peaked, and it's hard to match that.
I have a solution to the whole Madden decline. Just bring back NCAA.
Yeah,
Just just bring back college football and let us have our, pay those players because they should be getting paid that money. Like Ed O'Bannon, I think was the one that filed the lawsuit that got them the right to get paid off of their namesake and likeness.
Mhm.
So just go ahead and drop another NCAA on us. Everybody would buy that game. Everybody that I know that buys games would buy that game the day that it came out.
Yeah. I
New
used to love.
2023 is what they're saying might be the next NCAA now with
Yeah,
NIL and everything. I think EA is trying to work out everything to where they can do that, and I agree. I 100% the second they say it's coming out, I'm buying it. 'Cause I can franchise a school there and play for 100 years, and I'd be happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was great. And I used to love when you created a character on NCAA, you did your 4 years, and then you could port him over to the Madden game of the same year and just continue playing. I loved doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, it made create a player much easier.
Mm-hmm.
He was already ready.
Yeah.
You already built them up to a first-round draft pick, ready to go.
Exactly. He was ready to go. You
95
didn't have to start at
overall.
70s.
Yeah, you're not fighting Aaron Rodgers for a starting spot or something.
Right.
To talk a little bit about John Madden as a coach, he had 10 seasons in the league. He had a regular season record of 103, 32, and 7. That's a 75.9% winning percentage. Pretty fantastic on that one. Obviously, he's in the Hall of Fame from the class of 2006. The NFL, they name awards after notable people. You know, obviously Vince Lombardi is the name of the Super Bowl trophy. George Halas and Lamar Hunt are the names of the NFC and the AFC championship trophies. Is naming a trophy after somebody like John Madden in the realm of conversation that maybe like the head coach of the year trophy will be the John Madden trophy?
Yep.
I can see it. I think we'd all agree upon that could be something coach wins it. Whoever's best coach of the year, you get the John Madden trophy. You know,
Or sports broadcasting. Anyone that does any level of journalism, on a national platform, like they could get the Madden, journalism broadcasting award. I could see that too.
Yeah, I was looking through the list of the NFL awards, and Coach of the Year is just literally called Coach of the Year.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's not named after anybody. That seems to be one that they could easily just slap his name on, give him the forever recognition. I mean, the AFC Championship trophy, the Lamar Hunt trophy, it was named after the owner of the team that won the AFC Championship in the first year in existence. If he gets to have a lasting legacy for just happen to being a rich guy that owned a good team, then why can't John Madden?
Yeah, 100%.
That should be the Bill Belichick trophy. He's won it more.
Does Brandon have a little bit of bias on that one, maybe?
Maybe a small amount.
Facts are facts, homie.
Just a tiny bit, right?
Straight wins, homie. Straight wins. Let's move on. You know, John Madden obviously is a very important figure in our video game life, and somebody that we all respect. The next burning topic on social media has been something that has been kind of a laughingstock, even though I think, maybe after our conversation, we'll have a little bit different perspective because there might be some more seriousness involved. Of course, I'm talking about the Antonio Clown show that we saw happen this weekend as Antonio Brown took off his jersey and threw his gloves off into the stands and walked out on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the third quarter against the New York Jets there in the Meadowlands. This is a saga that we've been following for a couple of seasons now, ever since he left Pittsburgh, went to Oakland for about 3 days, and then left from there, ended up in New England for a couple of games, then won a championship in Tampa Bay last year, and then played throughout this season. It's been a ride. Of course, we can't forget the fake COVID vaccination and all that stuff that immediately led to the 3-game suspension. It's been a wild ride. What do you guys think about the Antonio Clown show and the latest chapter?
Realistically, I think, I don't know. I don't want to say like maybe he needs some help, but I feel like at some point somebody's got to realize maybe we need to reach out to him and help him out. I'm not saying this is 100% something he did or something that's happened to him, but someone's got to realize that he acts out over and over again. I want to say he's not going to get another job in the NFL, but I know the NFL, and he's probably better than 90% of the receivers that are playing. So there's a good opportunity he could still make some money in there, but they also have to take him for what he's worth. And he's his own act and he does his own thing. A lot of people brought up the money he left on the table. He needed 8 receptions, I think like 50 yards and a touchdown for his like $1 million incentive. but they keep bringing that up and then realize that he was suspended 3 games for the fake COVID card that he did to himself. So
Right.
his own show that he runs, and he runs it
Yeah.
the way he wants. I actually listened to a podcast today that had the guy that drove him, the whatever his name was, that drove him from the airport, and I was listening to him talk, and he was saying Antonio Brown was happy. He didn't care. He doesn't give a crap. He's just doing whatever he wants to do, and that's how he lives his life. So I don't know. I think Tom Brady went the best about it. Basically said, "Hey, let's get this guy some help. He's still one of our guys. He plays football, and let's focus on that and not the act that he puts on over and over again."
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
I think that Ryan's right that you can't sit here and say, his career is over because the NFL is still trying to get Josh Gordon back on, somebody's roster and they've gave him, I don't know how many second chances. And yeah, Antonio Brown's life has been a dumpster fire for what now, 5 years straight. Um, but like Ryan said, he's better than 85 to 90% of the receivers that are rostered right now. And it may not be the first of the season next year. It may be sometime, like toward the playoffs or toward the middle of the season when teams are getting banged up. But he's going to be a serviceable player that I don't imagine him asking for, top money because he's not going to get it. There's going to be a team that's going to snipe him and get him for, a pretty good amount. But the thing is just like Tampa Bay when they signed him, you are buying damaged goods, knowing that you're buying damaged goods. So you have to kind of you roll the dice, right? You get what you can out of it. And they got a Super Bowl and a pretty good record this year. They're going to be in the playoffs. So, I mean, I don't feel like Antonio Brown handled walking off the field, obviously, like that was the worst thing he could have done as far as his public image. But the things that were said that were led up to before, the whole like Bruce Arians like telling him, basically he wasn't gonna get to hit his incident, whatever it was. I want to know what exactly he has to say about it. I haven't heard any commentary from him as far as like was there things that led up like a couple of games before? Were there before the fake vaccination? Was there any kind of like beefs in the locker room between people? Because you never know, and stuff does come out later. But
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe we'll find out on the last episode of Man in the Arena when Tom Brady recaps this season. But
Yeah,
that was a joke because his that show is only Super Bowl seasons, and I don't think they're going to be a Super Bowl team this year. But
No way.
the Antonio Brown situation is very interesting, mainly because of the money left on the table. Now, I know a lot of people are saying that he walked away from the potential $1 million payout, but then I'm also hearing some rumors swirling that the Bucks were intentionally keeping him off the field to prevent him from hitting those milestones so they wouldn't have to pay him that. Kind of as a, well, you don't get to miss 3 games because of your conduct and still get to cash in kind of thing.
yep.
I mean, in the video that I showed of the clip, like you could see Mike Evans running over to him, trying to be like, "Hey, man, just deal with it. Just deal with it." Tom Brady apparently went over and talked to him, and AB kind of gave him like the head nod, like, "Yeah, I'm good, or whatever." And then he just stormed off. I mean, if you felt like you were getting screwed out of $1 million, wouldn't you have a kind of a reaction too?
mhm.
I know I would.
Yeah, and I think if you can try to put yourself in his perspective, obviously he doesn't handle things the right way, but the vaccine thing that obviously didn't go over well, and that was a bad mistake. Nonetheless, he paid his dues for that and missed those games, and he doesn't
More than
get
Aaron
paid.
Rodgers did.
He doesn't get paid for those games, so he has to eat that as well. And I think Brandon is onto something there. Whether it is true or not, I think the Bucks probably floated the idea around of AB kind of screwed us, and we needed him for those 3 games, especially because Chris Godwin was out and Mike Evans was questionable for a while. Tom Brady would have loved to have AB for those 3 games. maybe there is some legs to the idea that the Bucks kind of decided to screw him out of that just because they didn't want to pay him the $1 million. Again, no idea if that's true or not, but I that's completely in the realm of possibility in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to think that, especially Tom Brady, because throughout his career he's been pretty notable. If you've look past, he's been notable about getting his receivers all those incentives that
Oh yeah.
that have come along with what he gets. The yardage, the receptions, the touchdowns that they can make money off of. I've heard he was angry about being benched. I heard that he was being told to go in the game and just got disgruntled about whatever he. I don't know. I don't think we'll get a full answer until something comes out more solid. And I'm pretty sure right now, Antonio Brown's agent and probably PR rep are telling him, "Hey man, don't get on social media. Don't do a thing." I know he's a big Instagram live guy, so I'm surprised we haven't seen a video from him just going off on there. But until we get the whole story, I think it's just all we see is Antonio Brown walking off the field acting like a clown, and that's what everybody's going to remember out of it. So who knows what comes out of it? Honestly.
Yeah, good point.
Well, one thing that I think that probably will come out of this is some sort of mental evaluation and some sort of health protocol. Zach, I know you mentioned that you think that there could be some lingering effects from years ago that's kind of triggered the downward spiral of Antonio Brown.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to fire that clip up real quick for everybody.
Is perfect hit or
Yeah. It was
a rough one.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. And honestly, from Vontae's perspective, it was a clean hit. It was with the shoulder. I mean, he did what he had to do, but we'll get a slow-mo of it here in a minute. But I mean, this is the game of football. It's a tough combat sport, and things happen. I mean, I can't remember the name of it, but that movie that Will Smith did when they first started figuring out, hey, these head injuries are causing problems.
Wasn't it called concussion?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed. I mean, whatever kind of helmet you want to wear doesn't prevent your brain from smacking into the inside of your skull.
I've heard that they have actually done research in that, like, if they were to take the helmet off and go back to the leather old school thing, right? And not have these pads that protect them when they're launching themselves 40 miles an hour into another human, they may not, be willing to spring head first into somebody with that big plastic shield on their head. I mean, I know that that's not the way it's going to go. There's no commissioner in sport that'd be like, yeah, let's just go ahead and dumb down our, safety. But in a sense, guys are out here, doing things that get them paid while they're, in the prime of their career. Once that career is over with, their family has to pay the price for all those hits. And just like Antonio Brown with that Instagram live, I mean, I laughed, but it's not really funny when you see somebody falling apart on camera, and who knows if it's CTE? I mean, we don't. Has he ever been like suspended for like a drug violation?
Not
to my knowledge.
Not that I can think of.
Okay, so then there's something that's wrong with that boy. I think we all could say that, he has had every chance to be the face of whatever, the best receiver in the league for a while, and he just he continually throws it away. And I just feel like what I think it was Zach said it on Facebook. He was like, I hope we don't see this man dead in 5 years.
Right.
And that's really bigger than any of the sports stuff we're talking about. Is like, if he never plays another NFL game, I hope this man can find some peace in his life, because it's obviously not there now.
Yep.
That's a good point.
You actually bring up a real good point with the softer helmets or anything like that. A lot of Pop Warner has started going to removing a helmet and using like the padded soft type helmet that doesn't provide that extra. I don't want to say shell, but some sort of hard object. Just teaching kids from an early age to not lead with the helmet, lead with the shoulders. Don't use your head in any of these actions, because it's causing a lot of issues down the road. At the end of the day, it's football. Football is not the sport that you're going to dumb down and say, hey, we're going to remove contact out of it. And I think the NFL is doing a good job of trying to make it less I don't want to say dangerous, but removing some of the stuff out of there that, as a kid I watched and I was like, oh man, these look like they hurt a lot. But I think they're doing a good job of it. Who knows, man? With AB, it's tough to see sometimes.
Yeah.
He also plays a spot that, as a wide receiver, we've seen over the ages. That's a diva position. There's a lot of diva wide receivers that have the same type of attitude. So who knows? You can't really chalk it up to one thing or another because that's also the position. That's what they play.
My franchise is dealing with one of those divas right now, so yeah,
Michael Thomas.
yeah.
Oh, great.
At least AB
Yeah.
on the field. I mean, it's the best I could say on that one.
He was.
Yeah. Despite it, yeah.
Yep.
Looking at that clip that we just watched where AB got his bell rung, Burfisset, or however you say his last name, I can't ever pronounce it. He wasn't at fault. That was a clean hit. I mean, it was a hard hit, but he hit with his shoulder. The person who's really at fault there was Ben Roethlisberger for throwing a pass that was so hard to catch. AB jumped, and it was still way out of his range, and he was the defenseless receiver at that point. So the quarterback's at fault for not protecting his guy, not throwing that pass would have probably added years to his life.
Yeah. Do you remember Tom Brady talking about that in a recent interview? Brady was saying that with the defensive penalties that they give out, it takes away the quarterback's responsibility for throwing a ball to a receiver in a good position. And I think that's something that people often overlook is that the quarterback is the one throwing you the ball. And once that happens, the defense's job is to take you down. I mean, it's relatively simple when you break it down like that. And some of that is definitely on the quarterback. Just to kind of talk about AB's situation, or at least my thoughts on the situation. We all know who Roseanne is.
Yep.
Do we know who Sam Kinison is?
Yep.
Old comedian. So they were both in some pretty severe car accidents, and they had head trauma. And after that, relatives have said that their personalities changed and they got really reckless and wild. And a lot of people say that that's why Sam Kinison became such a popular comedian, because he just had a complete personality change. I'm no doctor, but if I look at that hit that AB got and I look at his actions now, it's not the actions of a person that has everything all together. Now, whether that's his fault or not, whether he's, playing it up a little bit, I don't know, but it just looks to me like he has some sort of mental issue, whether that be from CTE or some sort of prior issue that CTE probably isn't helping. But I don't think you can just simply chalk this up as AB is a diva and he's just this kind of weird personality. I think there's something more deeper going on there, because T.O. was a famous diva. I don't think he ever really did anything this extreme. So there's a lot going on here with the AB situation, I think.
I mean, T.O., just to bring light on hits, T.O., God, man, I can't remember the game. I remember watching it like it was yesterday. Took that smack in the end zone where he got hit. I think it was a playoff game, actually. I don't remember exactly what it was, but and after that, just kind of went down. I don't want to say the same path. T.O. had his own issues, and he definitely acted out in his own ways, but kind of along the same path, had his own sort of mentality that he went with after that. That didn't make sense to everybody. Kind of did his own thing, but I don't know if it was as hard as a hit. I just remembered as a kid watching it, and I was like, "Oh wow, that hurt a lot."
This could apply to Chad Johnson as well. Like, one year Chad Johnson and you're great, and the next year you're Ocho Cinco, and then now you're like in MMA or boxing or whatever it is. Like, those are not decisions that normal, athletes make. You don't see a lot of ex-receivers trying to earn pay-per-view money,
Yeah.
Next, it's just, yeah, I hope Antonio Brown gets the medical help he needs. And if you see any of the real sports where they cover the old athletes, like Jim McMahon, the quarterback from the Super Bowl Chicago Bears, the great team in '85, he can't, like, his wife can't leave him in a room by himself because he could just walk into a room and grab a knife and just start. Has no faculties, and it's just sad.
Yeah.
I mean, and it is, what you're buying, what you're signing up for, and these guys leave it all on the line, and I mean, that's why we watch. We wouldn't watch if it was flag football, but I also don't want to, in 10 years, find out that Jerry Rice, died from, suicide from taking hits, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's a difficult line to walk because it is such an enjoyable sport to watch simply because it's so competitive and so physical, and it's a spectacle, but it comes at a severe cost. I really think it does, especially for the players' health. And if I were one of the big wigs at the NFL, I would set up some sort of plan to get guys after career care, whether that be counseling or something more in depth, depending on their position. I think it's the least they could do as a $1 billion industry to their players. Sure, you might say that those players got paid millions and millions of dollars for their time, but we'll take the military for example. If you retire from the military, you get medical for the rest of your life. They paid you all that whole time for your 20 years. You got a paycheck. They give that to you because you sacrificed for them, and you gave up something for them, and that's their kind of return on their investment, if you will. I think the NFL could do something almost just like that, and I think they have plenty of resources to do it. I don't know if they ever will or not, because I think billionaires are pretty money grubby and they don't want to give that up. But I think that would be a nice way for the NFL to kind of recognize the big issues here that we're now seeing with guys that have CTE and stuff like that. Think of all the players that we've heard of dying and stuff like that. Demaryius Thomas, for one.
Oh man,
He was very recent, in his 30s. I mean, there's no reason that guy should be dead. I think it's just going to happen more and more. And I would really like to see the NFL try to come out with something for these guys.
I thought on the last CBA that the NFL agreed with, I'd have to go digging into it. There was some sort of a medical appropriation for players that had like NFL injuries. I'm not 100% sure, but I thought that was part of their agreement with the players union, trying to get more out of owners and the league itself, helping out players, knowing that these injuries are further affecting lives down the road. Like there's guys that they played football back in the day that you were talking about. God, I can't remember his name right now, from the Bears.
McMahon.
Yeah, McMahon. Right, that's someone who needs absolute medical care, and obviously, who knows what he did outside of football. But I bet you can relate a lot of that to his football playing and what he did playing football, because we've all seen like highlights of how he played, and it was reckless, and he went to town and he played football.
Yep.
I thought I'd have to look into it though and get back to you on that one.
Well, and then again, it's not always the guys that were, getting hit that wind up being the victims. Like one of the most infamous ones is Junior Seau. Like, I mean, I think everybody on here knows who that was.
Yep.
I would hope so. When you hear that this guy's killed himself, and like he was smiling on the side, like he always seemed happy. So like it was just really hard for me to like. I don't know. It was just really hard for me to reckon that, and that was when I was a little bit younger. Of course, this is before it became kind of like something that the media kind of made us see. They made us see movies like Concussion. They made us see the results of what we enjoy year in and year out, and what it does to the guys that we enjoy so much, and it just puts you in a weird conundrum, because it's like, how much of this are we really enjoying, and then how much is it going to be worth later on when we find out these guys, like Junior Seau and Demaryius Thomas, they just end up gone.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think it's a tough question too.
Yeah, the whole conversation is a deep one, and I think Ryan, you're right. I think the latest CBA did have something to do with trying to help that, but maybe with the death of Demaryius Thomas, maybe with everything going on with Antonio Brown, they look at it and realize like, hey, we need to continue doing more, because these guys, you know, for years and years and years, and you guys all hit on it, have made these owners billionaires.
Yep.
And now some of them are having some terrible times. I mean, look at Richard Sherman, a couple, you know, like what, last year or earlier this year with his whole incident. You know, that's stuff that probably needs to be addressed before it goes too far. But let's go ahead and move on into the last topic of the evening, and the playoff update. You know, we did see a pretty wild week 17 in the NFL, and a lot of things changed because of what we saw. So I just want to give a quick rundown of where we stand as far as looking at the playoffs and things like that are concerned. In the NFC, only 2 spots remain unclaimed, and the only 2 teams that can claim them are the New Orleans Saints and the San Francisco 49ers. So that's going to be pretty interesting going forward to see which one of those come up with that last spot. And in the AFC, there are 2 spots that remain, and the Colts, Chargers, Raiders, Steelers, and Ravens all have their playoff hopes alive. So we're in for a pretty exciting week 18. That's exactly what the NFL wanted whenever they expanded to another week in the regular season, and they're getting it this year.
Yep.
As a Saints fan, I couldn't be more ecstatic because, you know, once Jameis Winston went down, we all kind of know what Taysom Hill isn't going to be, right? He's not going to be Drew Brees. So, but when we seen what Trevor Siemian and what Ian Book put out there, it's like, oh man, he's the golden pony, you know? So at this point, I feel like this is the best defense I've ever seen my team have. They shut out the Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Buccaneers, and have beat them 4 out of the last 5 times they played them. The only loss they had to them was the one that mattered in the playoffs. But so I know our situation is we have to beat Atlanta at home, and they beat us early in the season. It's usually hard to beat the same team twice in a year. I I know that the San Francisco 49ers, they play the Los Angeles Rams. I'm not sure if it's a home or away game, but either way, Garoppolo down with Trey Lance in San Francisco didn't look great. I don't know if Garoppolo's done for the year. I mean, I would assume so with a torn UCL or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I would assume that he's at least limited if he does play at all. And playing against the Rams, that's going to be a tough matchup for the 49ers. They have a solid defense, and they've come together as quite the prolific offense this season, even after the injury to Robert Woods. The Rams are one of those teams that they are one of the upper echelon teams in the NFC as well. So they have a good chance of being able to beat the 49ers.
And they'll be starting everyone because they have to walk that number 1 seed down with Arizona.
Right. The NFC West still hasn't declared a division champion yet. So the Rams and the Cardinals both have clinched playoff spots, but they could still, each one of them could still win the division. So yeah, the Rams will be playing everyone.
Kind of reminds me of the NL West in baseball, where you had 2 teams that were clinched playoff spots, but neither of them had won the division yet.
Yep.
Wow.
The Rams themselves, they just need, realistically, they only need the Cardinals to lose. They get the win and they're in, but if the Cardinals lose, they still take the number 1 seed. The Cardinals themselves have to win and hope that the Rams lose. So a little bit tougher for them. I don't know how it's going to work out for San Francisco, just because the offense relies on the quarterback moving so much and being able to be mobile in the pocket. So if Jimmy G is in there, then
this guy Debo was pretty good for him this year too.
Yep.
He almost got me a championship.
Yeah, he was a very good, I think, underrated wide receiver.
For sure. My dad's going to keep him. I think he got him in the 8th round of his draft, so pretty good steal there in the 8th round. But so in the West in the AFC, you said so many teams, I can't even remember half of them.
There are 5 of them. The Colts, the Chargers. Those are the 2 right now that would be in if the season ended today.
Okay.
And then the Raiders, the Steelers, and the Ravens all still have a shot. Of course, the Steelers play Monday Night Football tonight, so if they lose, they're done. they do play the Browns, so it's possible that they do lose that game if the Browns can go off. I don't know. My money, if I had to bet, would be on the Colts and the Chargers. But there are some interesting scenarios that could take place that you could see the Raiders jump up in there and get a sneaky little pass. Of course, the Raiders and the Chargers play each other this week, so that's going to be some conflict there. But if the Colts happen to lose to the Jags,
You saw it then.
Nah, that
if
ain't happening.
if the
That ain't happening.
just hear me
Wild
out.
situation.
If the Colts lose to the Jags, then the Chargers and Raiders can tie, and both of them would be in the playoffs.
How great.
So we could just see them take knees the entire game and have a 0-0 final score, and both of them would be in the playoffs.
Oh, man.
That's crazy.
I saw that as well, and I was like, "That's insane! I can't even imagine a team wanting to do that." But hey, the playoffs are the playoffs, and the Almighty God wins the game. So
Yeah, you can't win if you ain't in. So that's for sure. You can't get down if you're not on the dance floor. If my team had to take a knee for 60 minutes, I'd watch it and cheer.
Just for the
great
chance to play the next week.
Excellent knee.
Great form.
Oh, yeah. So that would be wild. The only other division other than the NFC West that's still up for grabs is the AFC East. And in that division, there are 2 teams that are eliminated and 2 teams that have clinched a playoff spot. They're both fighting for the division. That's the Bills and the Patriots. Right now, the Bills, all they have to do is win and they're in as the division champs. If they lose, then the Patriots have to beat the Dolphins, which they usually split. Dolphins have already got their win for the year, so it's the Patriots' turn to win. That's the way football works. And they have to hope that the Bills lose to the Jets.
Oh,
all right then.
The Jets are the same team that broke Antonio Brown, by the way. So
yeah, they
they got
did.
that going for them.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with the Jets and their reasoning to actually play football when a good team comes into town, and then just a dumpster fire the rest of the time.
I think they hate having good draft spots.
They like the 5th, 6th, 7th area. They don't want to actually lose them all out and not get anybody.
Yes.
The draft is a whole other conversation because you got like 3 teams that'll be drafting most of the top 10 picks.
Yeah, that's very true. I am excited whenever the draft comes around this year because we will have a lot to discuss and digest on that one. One of the biggest victories of the entire weekend had to be the Cincinnati Bengals beating the Kansas City Chiefs. And that actually knocked the AFC seeding all out of whack because now all of a sudden the Tennessee Titans are back as the number 1 seed. If you would have told me that after Derrick Henry went down, that in week 17 the Titans would be the number 1 seed, I would have called you an absolute madman. But here we are.
And with the chance to get him back now, too. I think.
Yep.
And he can be back for the playoffs. Oh.
And they get a first-round bye if they stick it out. It'd be pretty wild to see that come through.
So he'd have an extra week to heal up. Oh man, Derrick Henry gets back on the field, man. Tennessee's going to be marking fogs. Their defense has been playing so good. I would say I would say good luck and also congratulations to Zach again on your championship. But good luck to New England this week, Brandon. I hope they win. I hope New Orleans takes care of business in Atlanta. As long as they win their game, whatever happens, you know what I'm saying, this is out of our hands. But I got to jump off of here, man.
All right. For sure, man. Well, we appreciate you stopping
but it was
by.
good talking to you, boys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks so much for being part of the show. Thanks for your opinions, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, man.
See you, bud.
Yeah, like he was saying, it is kind of wild that the Tennessee Titans could go out there and just absolutely dominate after a year of looking like, oh, they're mediocre, and then all of a sudden they've got one of the best chances, and all they have to do is beat the Titans in Week 18, and they're a lock as the number 1 seed. If I'm the Titan, say again.
Who do they have for Week 18? Is it Houston?
Houston, yeah.
Okay.
If I'm the Tennessee Titans, I'm all hands on deck for this one because you get that bye week next week. So,
What was Derrick Henry's injury again? Do we know? Do we remember?
Oh man, I don't even remember. He
I
was
don't.
ankle,
It was
wasn't it?
so long ago. I think it was something to do with his ankle.
Yeah, because I remember watching
okay,
it. He got laid on or something like that, where he hurt his ankle. Um, Man, I honestly, if they get him back, and they give, Julio time to recover as well, not that Julio's really been a standout for him to do much, but he's also put a lot of pressure on defenses and
Yeah.
leaving, AJ Brown over there on the other side pretty open. Their defenses come together. I this past week, picked the Titans mainly because they were gonna be playing in crap weather because it's crappy here now. So that's the only reason I knew that, and I was like, "Wow, Miami's not the team to come up to, 30 degrees snow and ice
Not
nonstop."
at all.
So, that's wild to me. Thinking that, you know, Cincinnati won that game and beat out Kansas City. I don't think anybody could have thought that, but on the same note, Cincinnati's a fun team. I wanna see Cincinnati continue to go. Carolina's not in this anymore, and I don't think they will be for a while until they figure out, what's going on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm enjoying watching Cincinnati throw the football. Joe Burrow, 970 yards in 2 weeks, and, Jamar Chase, 266 yards receiving this past week. That's insane.
I beg to differ, sir. Somebody saw that was going to happen because I posted in the Ready Break Huddle group that look for the Bengals to upset the Chiefs this weekend.
That's great.
It happened. I told
It
you
did
it was going to happen.
it worked out in a weird way because the end of that game, I don't know what the heck happened, and then all of a sudden they were kicking a field goal with, 3 seconds left, and I was like, "Well,
Oh,
that's
there were so many silly penalties and things like that
Kansas
on
City
that last
killed
drive.
at the end of it."
Yeah,
They only
it was
showed it
wild.
for like 2 or 3 seconds, but they showed a clip of somebody's jacket that caught on fire.
Oh, yeah.
That was the most ridiculous thing I've seen. I just
Yeah, the heaters they have there on the sidelines.
yeah. It
Yep.
reminds me of when Beast Mode was a rookie and he was on the Bills. And there's this clip, and I can throw it in the group. So if you're looking for funny clips, check out our group. He is on the sidelines and he's standing by one of those heaters, and he turns to somebody and he says, "That thing's burning up your butt cheeks." It has made me laugh way too much. And it's
So
just so
funny.
funny. And I immediately thought of it.
California, not knowing that.
I was like, he was right. He it caught somebody's jacket on fire. That was just too funny.
All I know is that week 18 is going to be exciting, and I'm excited to be able to kick back and watch it. I'm glad that the New England Patriots have locked up a playoff spot, ending that dreadful 1-year playoff drought that we had to endure. But it finally is over. The Pats are back in the playoffs where they belong, and mess around and win a game or two, and they're AFC champs once again. And that's where they need to be. Last thing that I want to ask you guys, with the end of the season upon us, we are going to be talking about end of year awards. That's going to be something that's coming up. Are any of these awards locked up, or are they all up for grabs still?
Ah, man. I don't know. I wanna say the MVP's locked up, but then there's 2 dudes that are literally battling for it, and they're, old as hell, so I don't know how they're still doing it. But, Aaron Rodgers,
Jonathan Taylor's not that old.
Ooh,
he's a running back.
I
Don't
kid.
even
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. You're right.
But, the 2 of them are just having a phenomenal season. Brady's 10 yards short of 5,000 yards. He's thrown 40 touchdown passes. Where's Rodgers at? 3,900 yards, but he's thrown 35 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So
that's the key. He does not turn the ball over at all.
he's got
Brady's
111
intercept.
passer rating. That's insane.
How many interceptions does Brady have?
He's
Probably
got
like what,
12.
4 times that?
Yeah, he's got 3 times it.
3 times that?
Is that the math I did in my brain? Yeah, there we go.
Wow, look at us.
But it's hard for both of them to say they're locked because Tom Brady statistically has had the better number year, whereas Aaron Rodgers, I think he played one less game because of the COVID toe and everything.
Like
The touchdown to interception ratio is absolutely insane. And then watching the game last night, just him and Devontae Adams, the throw and catch that they have, it's going to happen. And there's not a single defense in the league that's stopping it because it's just exactly where it needs to be when it needs to be there. So that's a hard race to put in there.
I've said it once, I'll say it again. Aaron Rodgers may be the most valuable player in the league, but Devontae Adams is the most valuable Packer.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. And he even came out last week, and he was talking about how Aaron Rodgers said that Devontae Adams is the best player he's ever played with, football wise. And Devontae's thrown back about it and everything. Seems to be a humble guy, which would be the opposite of what I consider Aaron Rodgers. But he's amazing. It's just insane to watch.
Yeah, it is insane. I had him on my fantasy squad last year, and I loved every second of it. I wanted to draft him again this year, but it didn't fall that way for me. So, unfortunately, I missed out on it. But it is what it is. What do you guys think about the Rookie of the Year runnings right now? Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's kind of going to boil down to between Jamar Chase and Mac Jones.
I think I give the nod to Jamar Chase simply because I think his position in his situation is a little bit harder to find success because he's one of 4 wide receivers that Joe Burrow could target. They also have a very good running back in that system, and Jamar Chase has still just blown out anyone's expectations of him. He's in company with Randy Moss for rookie wide receiver numbers. That's Hall of Fame worthy right there. But at the same time, I do think that Mac Jones has shocked a lot of people in his ability to manage a game and just be a piece in the Bill Belichick Patriot way. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to do these days. A lot of people want to be the guy. A lot of people want to be the star, and it just doesn't work that way. Mac Jones has a specific skill set that allows him to kind of check his ego and do what he needs to do, which I think is commendable. But when it comes to personal awards, I think Jamar Chase is a pretty solid choice for that.
Yeah, to your point, Jamar Chase did break Justin Jefferson's rookie receiving yards record during his game yesterday, and that's notable because Justin Jefferson didn't win Offensive Rookie Player of the Year. That went to a quarterback in Justin Herbert. This year, I think Jamar Chase breaking that record and there not being that standout rookie quarterback that's gone out there and carried a team, I think that he should rightfully get that award.
I agree with you there, and that's what I was going to bring up is that I don't think there's been a quarterback that is, I'm not going to say stood out because Mac Jones has definitely stood out compared to his other rookie buddies who are all going to be watching football from the beach or wherever they're going to be at here shortly. So in that aspect, he has stood out and he's understood the job that he's been asked to do. But the flash and flare that Justin Herbert brought last year in comparison to Mac Jones, I think Jamar Chase takes that this year from an offensive standpoint. He's looked unstoppable when I think I sent you guys a message yesterday talking about how Kansas City knows the ball is going to him and there's nothing they can do. He's catching it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild to see. Well, guys, do you have anything else that you want to add to this first episode of Ready Break?
No, I don't. Maybe I do. We were talking about awards, and I'm going to put an award out there just for a wild shot in the dark, maybe, because there's been a lot of coaches that deserve Coach of the Year or NFL. If you're listening to this, the John Madden Award every year from now on. Who knows?
That's right.
To me, there's a lot of guys that stand out for it because there are really, really good teams, but there's one team in general where I feel like the coach kept it all together. And
Bill Belichick. Yep, I agree.
Mike Vrabel from Tennessee. Somehow that team is leading the AFC in the position to take the number 1 seed, and they've had all sorts of injuries all season long to star players, and he still kept them going. One game at a time mentality and doing the job he needed to do. And
I would also throw Brian Flores into that mix. I mean, to one, be successful on the Dolphins is pretty spectacular, but then to go from 1-6 to what are they on a 7-game winning streak?
They were.
They were.
Tua's injuries, all the woes with what are they going to do with that? Are they going to get Deshaun Watson? All this kind of stuff. I think he deserves some recognition for keeping that team together as well, because I don't think anybody really expected them to go on that kind of a streak, especially whenever Tua was injured and then questionable. And obviously they play in a tough division, having to face the Bills and the Patriots. So I think Vrabel and Brian Flores are my top two for Coach of the Year.
And both of those guys are on the Bill Belichick coaching tree. So therefore, Bill Belichick has to be considered the coach of the year.
By default there.
It's a default award now.
Boom. Boom. See that? That's like MMA math that I just did for coaching. All right, guys. Well, I'm out of here. I thank everybody for watching and for following along for this first episode. We hope to be able to continue keeping the engagement up and having more people on here as the weeks progress, and we can continue to have these kind of conversations where it's not just me giving my opinions on all these topics, and we have several people that can chime in and say what they think, and we can just discuss it from there. So I appreciate all of you guys tuning in and enjoying the show tonight, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
Ready, break.